Blessings, beautiful YouTube family. I'm so grateful to be with you here today, and we are going to get started in about 5 minutes. As usual, I always like to go on a few minutes ahead of time of our actual broadcast here on YouTube and just get the energy flowing, get it rolling. I did not advertise about this week's 4D Trinity. So I thought I'd come on especially a little bit early just so that we can make an anchor point here and create the correct conditions for all who may wish to join. So I'm going to make a few notes, and if you are into this, come back. I will start at 11 a.m. Blessings and welcome everyone in Facebook land. I'm so excited to be going live with you here shortly in a few minutes for 4D Trinity. Please do stay tuned or hop by and come back in a few minutes and we'll get started. I'm just reviewing a few notes I want to share. Okay. So many juicy aspects have come up to be a part of today's live stream, except I'm missing one piece. Hey, blessings, Charles. Nice to see you. Going to get started here in just a minute at 11. I need to grab one more thing. All right. Bits and bobs. Blessings. 10:59. What a gift. What a gift to be here on this beautiful day. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful day. Getting ready to go live here on Instagram. It's time. Yes, blessings. Blessings and welcome everyone. Hey, thank you for hopping on YouTube. Avine! Hello, beautiful sister. Avine, all the way in Northern Ireland. Thank you for hopping on tonight. I think it's tonight where you are, right? And it's just 11 a.m. here. Blessings and welcome, everyone. This is such a powerful, powerful show today. And I fully feel this, the initiation that we are all going through, coming into the light, really coming into what we already are, embodying those aspects of us that are the truth, beyond the stories, beyond what the world would have us think, but the absolute truth of us. And we're coming into this ring of fire that brings about our vulnerabilities, that brings about the injustice in the world, that brings about a calibration and an awakening through our minds, through our bodies, and through our energy vehicles, through the emotional strata of grittery that connects us all through all time, space, and dimensions. Thank you for hopping on. This is such a powerful, powerful time. Again, this is the initiation of us into our truth that is the light, We are that light, and we are remembering that. We are remembering that together. And there's always a purging. There's a ceremony of a purging of that which is not truth, which is the untruth, as we make our way, as we are welcomed into a greater light. And so we imagine that all of the things that have happened to us in our life are parts of the initiation that we had signed up for along the way. And there may be periods of time where you may feel that you're just riding a wave and all feels well and God bless, may it be, may it be. Yet there might be times where you feel the roller coaster of life. You get real bumpy. The ride gets really, really bumpy. And we may do our best not to look at or not to feel, not to think about, not to go into those realms that hold pain, that hold trauma, that hold memory. It is within the memory, within our bodies, within our minds, as it's connected through the grid matrix, that keeps us in the cycle of repeating those situations, those occurrences that would have us continue to be the victim, continue to be in the experience of those same or similar energies and frequencies. And what we're doing now, coming into this incredible line of eclipses that we've been with, and this incredible shift in consciousness. You know, someone was saying recently that this whole virus thing, or it was a post I think I reposted recently, that it's really not about this virus. This is about the planetary shift in consciousness. There are more and more people asking more and more questions about more and more things that have never been asked before. There's a greater contingency of people across the board that are curious, that are beginning to awaken into feeling that they have a right even to ask, that they have a right to question authority. And this is very, very powerful, because it is in our individual awakening that the full awakening of the one comes into being. We are each a part, we are each a fractal of the greater whole. And as we learn to heal our lives, right, the entire rest of the puzzle is given, that information is granted, that divine blueprint of your healing path, that they may unconsciously, consciously, or even subconsciously walk in your footsteps. Blessings, and thank you for hopping on Instagram, at Facebook, and on YouTube. I'm so very grateful. So it's a very important time that we're in, and it's all important, right, to a degree. Yet there is this influx of a greater strata of people that are feeling stuff, that are feeling the awakening, feeling the ripple of it. And it's really an initiation when we allow ourselves to step into greater light, which is really love without an opposite. It is beyond the dual framework of the matrix. It is beyond what we've been taught as the yes and no, right and wrong, black and white aspects of this world. Light is truth, and light brings light to truth. And that's what's happening in so many sectors of the world. Now, we all may hold different truths. We all may hold a different aspect of the truth, but it's still a part of the whole, a part of the greater truth. And outside of the external environmental aspects, one person might think things about politics and this is right, and the other person says, no, this is correct. And even in the light of this whole COVID thing, there was someone in the book club recently that was saying, if only you could see it from my side, if only all the people who disagree with me could see it from my side. And I offered, yeah, and everyone, if we think about sides, everyone on the other side is saying the same thing. If only you could see what I see. So there's people, invested or exploring alternative truths, which some people call conspiracy theories, and other people that are hardwired in a mainstream frame. And we can banter all day long about this. Yet each aspects are reflecting a part of the greater whole. And as soon as we just understand that and begin to listen to one another, this is where coherency is given the right of way to come in. Now, equally, the coherency within ourselves, the initiation within ourselves for the two parts of ourselves that are battling, the light, the dark, right? The part of us that is ready to heal, the part of us that is seeking that healing, the part of us that cannot help but find ourselves in the ring of fire, in the initiation of awakening. This is where we're at now. And the battle is within you. It is within your mind. And that's why we say, master the mind. We learn to feed the light body and starve the tar body. The tar body is the toxic twin of your light body. It's the part of you that tells you to do all the things that would serve keeping you in limiting, toxic, fear-based, addiction-rooted patterns that do not serve your higher good. And so the awakening from this is a rude awakening. And I feel it even right now. There's the sense, I don't know if you're feeling this too, but just this morning, and actually since the eclipses last weekend, blessings, thank you for hopping on and for saying hi, everyone. I'm so grateful. Thank you. And I pray this conversation just continues to spark the flame that's within you, to activate your activism towards you standing in your truth. And really, this is the initiation of standing in your truth, which is that you are unfuckable with. No matter if there's a fucking vaccine, okay? The point is, you are not of this world unless there's enough of the world in your system. Look we're going down. We're going down. No, we're not. Ooh, wasn't that interesting though? Just as I made that exclamation, all the little cameras were like, woo! Okay, here we are. We're back. But this is it. It's so we get to, and not that I'm, let's put all this in a bubble of light, because I am not calling in this factor for us. Yet there's an aspect that once enough of us becomes not of this world, no matter what is put upon us, cannot affect you, because it is through our triggers. It is through our mental continuum that gives those qualities, those aspects, the right of way to find a place within us. So yes, if it's your thing, supporting, whether you're anti-vax or you're for vaccinations, but we got to know what the ingredients is, and let's all, get together and make sure that it's the healthy and it's not just this forced situation. Wherever you stand on that, there's this aspect of us coming into an awakening and an understanding that we are in this world, but we are not of this world. The degree that we are in this world is to the degree we have unhealed aspects within us. And that's what keeps us anchored. And this is what the initiation is. It's going from the victim to the light body. And it's the bridge between worlds. We are, many of us, whether we're conscious of it or not, are shifting timelines. And now I did a show about this maybe 3 weeks ago. And it's on the YouTube, it's on the Facebook, if you want to scroll back and find it. And so many of us find ourselves in this in-between place. We're having these aspects of this detox. So we had these series of eclipses. And when this eclipse happens, the sun The light of the sun is blocked either partially or fully for a series of moments, of minutes, of time. And then boom, and then here it is again. And so there's this aspect where I love it. One astrologer spoke about it and said that it's like the sun is getting unplugged and then plugged back in. Now, if we think about this idea of the sun being the source, any ancient civilization through all time and space always revered the sun. The sun is how we grow our crops. It's how we maintain a certain level of health. There's an aspect of the sunlight restoring the vitamin D, which informs the mitochondria, which informs our wellness, our ability for the interior functioning of our endocrine system. And when all of these factors are given the correct conditions through our diet, through our lifestyle, through our thoughts, through our actions and our deeds, etc., when all of these aspects are nourished and fed, when we feed the light body, the tar body, the toxic twin of the light body is starved. And we can, with greater ease, be in the world and not of it. And this is the initiation that a lot of us are feeling. Now, I want to read from you. So back in 2012, I started becoming, when I decided to become an author, it was, I don't know. For years, I wrote music. And I was a singer for a million years with Aving here on YouTube. She remembers. Back in Ireland, we were backup singers, and with a 10-piece funk jazz band. It was so much fun. But then years later, I played the guitar, songwriting, singing for, I want to say, billions of years. And then that shifted to art. And then that art shifted to actually scribing and writing about the grid, about the metaphysics. And I started publishing articles. And this was one of my very first articles. Okay, maybe like my third or my fourth, but it's called Adapting to Zero Point Energy in and Beyond 2012. This was published in 2012. Oh, blessings. Hey, Cornelius Peace, Gods and Kings, everyone. See, now I have my glasses on. I can see who's here. Rachel. Hey, sister. Blessings. Okay, wait, let me keep them on. So this is what's happening, because there's a lot of people DMing me. There's a lot of students that are going through this initiation. And I want to read you this. Former practicing students will become masters. And practicing masters will take on the roles of shaman, sage, medium, and gatekeeper, assisting and holding space for all who wish to ascend from the third dimension and tap into the hidden mysteries that lie beyond the gravity of the grid. As we embrace the great changes taking place within our cosmos, a massive recollective of harmonic potential is on the verge of evolving from a fear-based field of collective perception to one founded in love. The grid, right, is this network of interconnected minds through all time and space that creates this matrix that we live in. It's all of our minds, all of our thoughts, all of our experiences, our memory. It's the reservoir. It's a subset system from the Akashik records that is in a continual superposition soup, where there's the ingredients for every potential to exist. And what's happening now is there's so much activation in all of our bodies and all of our minds with all of the stuff going on in the world. It's affecting us. And these eclipses, this galactic and cosmic activation, these eclipses is happening. So there's this idea that this is the matrix. This is the third dimension. This is the synaptic sky of the third dimension. It's the wiring of everything that we've been told about how the world works. And as you come up into your spiritual awakening, you realize that it's all lies. Or at least you'll explore and you'll find out that parts of it are not true. Or they are true when specifically just seen through the perceptual lenses of a third dimensional you, using only your five senses. But as we awaken spiritually, we're like, we realize that we are more than these five senses. We are more than these bodies. We are spirit. We are a light body. We are light. And this is the initiation into this fourth dimensional consciousness, into that heart center. And it's the awakening of the heart center that gives rise and creates the correct condition for that initiation. So no, if you're going through bumpy territory, you're going through a breakup, you're going through a healing crisis. I have one sister who's writing me. She's like, I'm seeing things. I'm seeing shadows. I'm seeing light streaks. I'm seeing rainbows. I'm seeing, the stuff is like, this is on. This is a part of it. This is a part of it. Now, some of us are moving from being a student into being a teacher, to being a master. We've learned, we've healed enough, we've acclimated enough that we can hold space now on a greater level, and however that is authentic for you to come through. Equally, those who have been walking the path of mastery are now being crowned with a higher wisdom that is offering downloads that we can then hold space for those coming into mastery. And then there's like these levels, even though it's all one, it's all the same, but there are these levels because we all have a teacher, right? We all have those that we look up to. If we're on this path, we learn humility, that we know that we don't know. We know that we don't know everything. And to keep the beginner's mind and to stay humble allows teachers and teachings to come in. But there's this initiation. So where are you? Are you going from student to being a master in your circles, in your family even? It doesn't even have to mean that you open a yoga center or anything like that, but just in the energetic domain of the spaces that you hold, or is your mastery being lifted to another level where opportunities are opening, people are coming in and they're saying, we see you, we got you, we're going to hold space for you to expand even more. And what are we doing when we expand? Is we're participating in bridging heaven on earth, peace on earth, which is always here. And as we go through the fire of initiation, which also includes you getting used to embodying Kundalini activations to the point where you're like, oh, here's another one. It's like I live in California, and there's times where you don't feel any earthquake little trembles. And then there's times where like over a whole week, you'll be like, ooh, is that like the sixth one? Ooh, like a 2.4 or 5 point something. Ooh, ooh, ooh. And that's what the Kundi gets like. When there's enough of the dross of our own pain, we're just done being a victim now. When we lift and we forgive and we consciously, on purpose, choose peace and create the correct conditions for that peace to be real, to be the truth for you. Nothing can mess with you. Yet the continuation of creating the sacred space for that anchoring is what creates the correct condition for your light body to be activated. So your Kundalini awakening, you could feel it as icky, sticky shifts, as the tar body is released and the light body given the right of way, there's a detox. And so as this eclipse and these series of eclipses is happening, imagine the whole universe is fueled by the light of the sun, yet the sun is being unplugged and plugged back in again. And so our source of the solar logos, the divine light that is truth, that illumines the true path of love for one and all, and in your own fractal way that you may perceive that and that it would serve you. That light switch got turned on. And so for a moment, the light switch gets turned off in these eclipses. So for a moment, we're only in the land of those matrices that we have created for ourselves, that are rooted in the grid, that are rooted in the binary system of duality, of polarity, of judgment. I mean, isn't it? And I'll put this in a bubble of light because I don't need this to be true. Yet in my experience, and I know all of our experience is subjective, subjective. But what I'm noticing in this last week is like, woo, people be on fire, and like division. I'm observing division, even amongst people in their own tribes, with this mask thing. Wear a mask, don't wear a mask. And just, it's these little things. And where people actually, I'm fully in a bubble of light, just making observations that what's happening. And it's one thing to have your own opinion, yet you don't have to judge others. And what I see that's happening is that individuals are so filled with fear around these things, even of like wearing a mask. And if you're not wearing a mask, you're selfish and you're killing other people. Like it's really polarized, that they get so angry and so overwhelmed and worked up. And God bless, I know there are people that are passing, and there's no disrespect to anyone in that river. Yet there's an aspect happening metaphysically. And it's almost that what I'm seeing is individuals who are really feeling righteous in that, or in certain aspects, that they actually begin to become like the dictators that they are against, if you will. So I'm painting a picture. So where there's so much duality and right and wrongness, that one person is making the other person wrong. And it's almost like we have forgotten, and now we're on a path of remembering how to have a conscious conversation and to share ideas, that we can come to a resolution of a new level of awareness that is outside of fear. And so anyway, that's been my observation. And it's like this inside of us. When the light is coming in, that light switch turned off, the eclipses, and all we were left with were the grids, were the belief systems, were these black and white dual aspects of the stories that we've been told about the world. And then we're like, oh man, we get to stew in that. And now the love and the light is always here, but that main source had been turned off. And then boom, the light comes back on. Whoo! And then that light just penetrates through all of the grid system again. And here we are just with this jolt of like, we've been sitting, even if it's for those few minutes or half an hour, 22 minutes of the light being off. And we're like, oh, and we go deep, deep, dark, dark, down, down into like our stuff. And then the light comes back on. It refreshes and refuels all of those stories and all of those aspects with the light. And that's where the initiation is, because are we going to let that light in? Are we going to say yes to being true to ourselves? And that's all it is. All peace on earth is you doing what is true to you without harming others, right? In a non-violent, harmful way, but that which is kind and honest and authentic to you. Now, 4D Finding Arts has an offering. I think I'm going through a second awakening where I'm learning more about my fourth dimensional self and leveling up the connection. Woo! Tell us, how are you leveling up the connection, brother? It's true though. This is it. If we're awake, we're like, these are the initiations. And for some people, they're seeing stuff like my friend. She's like, I'm seeing rainbows and I'm seeing shadow beings and light beings. You know, what's going on? And I'm hearing noises. It's like, these are all. That's actually normal. Yet, as we are full of the stories that would have us grounded and rooted in fear in the world, those things that are unfamiliar are scary territory. They're scary territory because we don't know who we are fully yet. But when you know that you are love, that you are light, and that truth is the truth, period, then no matter what comes into your domain, you are unaffected, you are untriggered by it, and you can see it for what it is without judging it, without adding to it. And ultimately, that aspect becomes transmuted into light. It is given the opportunity to find its own light, but not because you're trying to change it or to make you feel safe or better. I want you to do what I'm telling you to do so that I feel better. No, it's not about that. It's about allowing all things to be illumined for the highest good. So this vulnerability and this victimhood, you see, we imagine again, remember in school, and we would all draw these pictures in school, in kindergarten, of like a tree and the little stick figure of you and your mom and your dad or the dog or whoever it was. And then the sun would be in the corner. Remember, like a big yellow sun, and that would be like a picture that we would draw. Well, imagine, and I've done shows on this before, there's nothing new under the sun. I offer that is a spell and that is not the whole truth. There is nothing new under the sun as long as we live in the third dimensional reality, and as long as we live in this simulation of this matrix, as long as we continue to create our realities from the stories that bind us to this being the only way, the only truth, through our five senses. And again, when we plug into light, when we plug into spirit, we are awakened and we realize that we are not this body and that there is so much more to us, and that actually we are all one. There's only one of us here. There's only one of us here. And again, there's only one moment, and it's happening now. And ultimately what we're doing is we're collapsing all those memories. We're dissolving all those timelines. And this is the shaky initiation. This is the shaky business, is trusting now that you can walk without those shields, without all those things that you used to walk with that made you have the feeling of safety, when in fact, and perhaps they did and they served, yet there comes a point where we grow up spiritually, and we realize that it's actually a deep initiation, and it takes a very powerful mystic gift of trust to lay those shields down, to forgive so hard, so deep, so fully that you actually forget, to the point that you forget, you've made peace with, that you are no longer bound to those grids, to those memories, to those threads of your experience. You know, maybe you've been a trauma victim of violence, a sexual abuse, financial. There's so many different fractals of how this can affect us. Yet the same aspect is the truth, is that as you lay those burdens down and you really begin to forget, what happens is those grids are released from you, and you don't have that memory. You don't walk with that cellular memory. You are not continuing to create that simulation in your personal matrix in this world. More space is allowed into you, into your energy, body, and being for light, for your light body to be fed and nourished, to be awakened and given the right of way. And so, like Pinocchio, there are no strings on me. You're not triggered constantly and needing to judge and make people wrong and make yourself right and fix things. There's nothing to fix, but only that which resides in you. And that's heaven on earth. That's peace on earth. 4D Fighting Art says, I still have lots to learn. We all do, right? But it starts with the decision to be curious, finding good teachers like yourself outside of the normal educational system. Yes, outside of the normal, exactly. Personally, I'm changing the things I've autopiloted into: diet, relationships, belief of history, etc. And these are the things, these are the grids, right? Even if you start drinking green juice 3 days a week, your whole world will change. Why? You'll probably poop more, get literally some crap out of you. Is that crass? It's the truth, right? This is a physical body, and to the degree that we're gunched up and constipated, right, with a diet that does not serve the synchronization of the divine flow. What comes in goes out. It doesn't get stuck in the gut. And remember, our gut is like our first brain. That's the serotonin. That's our feel-good stuff, our feel-good chemicals and stuff. So in order to feel heaven on earth, happy, joyful, peaceful, even in the midst, the whole world is blowing up and you're like, everything is perfect. Because you're not of this world. And I know it sounds crazy. It sounds crazy if you're only seeing with your 3D eyes. But remember, here at 4D Trinity, we activate the heart center in the third eye. We see the perspectual lenses of the horizon and the third dimensional matrix. We see and we feel the empathy. We feel compassion for our brothers and sisters. Because it's real shit and we've been there. Yet we've also illumined and awakened a higher vision. The vertical, ascended vision. This is the 2020 vision here. And we're seeing with eyes of love. We're seeing through the third eye and the heart, which offers a very, very different vision. And in fact, one of the things I'm working on with my project, Grid Mind Science, and thank you everyone for following, whether it's on Facebook or Instagram or both, I'm developing a screenplay called Grid Mind Science, and it's really my life's work. And I had a beautiful epiphany a year or so ago in a period I call crystals, where I had a 22-day Kundalini, sacred secretion, and pituitary gland drip. Different story, and I have a little YouTube on it. But the aspect is right. In science, it tells us this observer effect. Before observation, right, there's this aspect that everything is a wave until you look at it, then it becomes a particle, right? So when you're not looking, like everything is everything. Nothing's really anything at all until you look at it. And it's how you see it that it becomes a particle. The observer effect, right? It's just basic quantum physics. And we can have a whole other conversation whether quantum physics is real or not. There's skeptics or there's classical, science cats that don't like any of this stuff. But that's okay. We're just using this as a metaphor. So when we're not looking, everything, there's actually nothing happening or everything happening. But when we look, however we see, what we decide to see is what happens. Now, with your 2020 vision, with your third eye and your heart activation, the observer effect doesn't work anymore. Why? Because you're not the one looking, you see. God, source, love, higher power, whatever name you might give that which is omniscient, all present, the all, light, love, and only love. That is given the right of way. When you get out of the way to look, to see, that is vision. God's vision, if you will. And so the observer effect gets canceled out because you're not the one looking. But what happens? This is the initiation. When you've dropped enough of your stories about why the world is so fucked up and why you deserve to be a victim continually and forever, that's when vision is given the right of way. It's the God phone. Hello? Hey, God. God says hi. Blessings. Thank you for the divine inspiration. Yes. Okay. We're going to read a little bit from A Course in Miracles. Thank you. Okay. Namaste. I love you too. God is good. And if you know me, I never even said the word God until I became a student of A Course in Miracles. Okay, so God's inviting us to read Lesson 57. I am not a victim of the world I see. How can I be a victim of a world that can be completely undone if I so choose? You have the power. Your perspective. Well, wow, that was kind of cool timing. I didn't know the God phone was going to ring right then, right when we did this observer effect. My chains. Okay, so how can I be a victim of a world that can be completely undone if I so choose? My chains are loosened. I can drop them off merely by desiring to do so. The prison door is open. I can leave simply by walking out. Nothing holds me in this world. Remember, like Pinocchio, there are no strings on me. The more pain, the more trauma, the more unforgiveness that we walk with, that's baggage, right? That's what we call baggage. And that's a heavy load, and that's gravity. That is the gravity of the grids that keep us bound to the loom of the dual aspects of this matrix, of this simulation. And again, because how we look at what we see affects what we see due to the observer effect. When we stop looking so much with the vision, because remember all the things that we either believe or that we're told, mainstream media, the stories about religion or cultures, traditions, what's right and wrong in the world that we're given from our families, cultures, society, when those filters come off and we begin to just see from the clarity and the truth of the heart, those chains begin to loosen. We begin to be less bound by the gravity of those belief systems. We are freed from the grid matrix. We are freed from the right and the wrong, the judging, the yes and the no. The prison door is open. I can leave by simply walking out. Nothing holds me in this world. Only my wish to stay keeps me a prisoner. I would give up my insane wishes and walk into the sunlight at last. Oh my gosh, I love how that happens. Into the sunlight. Okay, so back to the solar logos. So remember we were talking about as a child, drawing the picture of the stick figure, your little family and the grass and the tree, and then the sun in the corner of the page, right? When we were maybe in kindergarten or something. And so we learn, and we're told, and we're taught there's nothing new under the sun. And now, granted, everything is a fractal aspect of everything else. Everything is interconnected and really is a part of the greater whole. And any genius, any divine downloads, are really said to be just a part of the ingredients of what's already here. And I'm not disputing that. Yet what I'm offering is that what is beyond this third dimensional storyboard that we've been given, that can be very, very limited to the five senses, to the physical aspect of our body, that we need to fight for, that we need to be afraid of death for. When enough of the pain has been dropped and enough of the forgiveness has happened that we forget what we were even holding against someone for in the first place, We enter a different domain. When there's enough light allowed in our body, we begin to just naturally become activated in that light. And this is the initiation. Because again, what is ready to be purged to be purged. I have another girl who's like, she's moving out. She's been married for so many years, and she's like, these eclipses have been like unplug, plug, plug, unplug. And she just sees stuff that she knows she's been seeing for many years, but now she's like, I can't pretend that I'm not seeing this anymore. And I can't pretend that it doesn't make me feel like I'm not living my true life. And I can't pretend anymore, period. She's like, I'm out. I'm doing this, you know? So light codes. Imagine the light, the sun is in the little corner of the picture. Well, what about what's beyond the sun? We're told there's nothing new under the sun. But what I'm offering is that there is a new from the solar logos that is beyond the sun. So when we think about moving outside of that framework that we've been given to think about ourselves in, nothing new under the sun, well, we're fucked then, aren't we? No matter what you invent, no matter what you come up with, there's nothing new under the sun. Oh, snap. Here we go. We're stuck. No. Anyone who's gone through any levels of awakening or little mini enlightenments or kundalini or seeing, fractal aspects while you're doing a mushroom or an ayahuasca ceremony, you're like, oh, no, there's something beyond this for sure. Because you might have even seen through your own body and realized your invisibility, your inviolate, the ability where you cannot be violated, where you are not vulnerable. And at this point, when we have created the correct conditions within ourselves, which is the part of the initiation, and allowing that light to activate within us, we become a cosmic transmitter and receiver of the solar logos. And this is the pure light from the sun and from the space beyond the sun. This is where now moment realities and inspiration comes from, that actually is quite new. And perhaps it is rearranging the ingredients of what is here in the third dimension in new ways. Yet it is infused with a wisdom, with an animating force. That's all logos is. It's what beats your heart. It's what makes the planets move. Some people call it God. Some people, call it light. That's just it's a divine intelligence that knows a sacred order. It is nature. It is what shamans know to lean into and to trust, because there is a sacred organizing order in all of creation. And as we remove the shadow, remove the parts of us that would hold time as a real relative value in our experience, well, that's when we become freed into the now moment where the miracles happen. That's the infusing. That's what I'm working on researching right now anyway. And I might change my mind next or I might add to it. But that's what I've been getting, is that it's beyond the grid, right? And it's just like coming in. The more light we have, the more light we can be inspired and activated by. But this is an initiation because it's a frequency shift. You're getting bumped up. We're all getting bumped up if we choose it, if we allow it. And some of us, we're getting dragged because we're like, no, I will not see it. I will not look at it. And it's hard because there could be a lot of pain, or you might feel like you're letting a lot of people down, or you're going to hurt someone if you walk away, or if you choose to love you more in whatever situation. But this is your path. This is the path of the warrior initially. You use the shields and then you lay the shields down and you walk. Defenselessness. There's nothing that can violate you because you have no triggers. There are no strings on you. You are not of this world, and you recognize it, you realize it, and you walk in that activation. And so light becomes you. Light awakens through you. You realize you are that. And light is the truth. This is what is. This is what is beyond the sun. When we draw, when we have enough light in us and we begin to draw from that which is beyond the paradigm of the grid, beyond the paradigm of the dual nature of the matrix, beyond the simulation of these ridiculous politics and these ridiculous everything. And pardon me if you think it's true, that's my personal opinion and I don't judge you, but I'm just, there's a lot of crazy going on, right? On one level or another. And it's all being highlighted because the light is on. But this is the truth. This is what we are. Yet this is the stories that we're given and that we're told, and the space that we're told to be a good third dimensional human being and live within this box of this matrix, of these beliefs, of these belief systems, of what's right, of what's wrong, of what's possible. And collectively, as we activate our light body, activate the heart, we learn now the love and the light is in that dual nature of the matrix. Love and fear are the dual aspects of this binary system. And so we learn how to use the language of light on our tongue and in our minds and in our practices to create the correct conditions to mystically garner the way, to be led the way through the matrix, along the path of love, along the path of light, that we enter the domain, that sacred mystic aspect of the heart center, where we don't have all the answers, where you stop knowing things. And what I always say is there's only one thing that I know for sure, and that's love is the truth. And that's the one thing that I will stand by. I don't know anything else, yet that is my founding rock. And as long as I know and I trust and I lean into love being the truth, that affects everything that comes into my spheres in my existence. And so what is your standing rock, your founding rock, your anchor? We make our way through the matrix, and it's a moment by moment experience. Activate through the heart center. Activate the third eye. Begin to trust in the not knowing. Begin to trust that everything, no matter how funky or odd or weird or strange or obscene or abusive or violent or just disgraceful that aspects are that are coming up, that you might feel that way or judge it or see it in that way, to understand that it's all part of the dance of things coming into their natural divine order, and that everything is actually perfect just as it is. And this can be really, really tough to do, especially as there are great unhealed parts of ourselves. So April, blessings, sister. She says, every time I tune in, you say what I needed to hear. I can breathe a bit deeper with every word right now. Well, blessings. I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful for that, April. Thank you for sharing that. So this is an interesting aspect as well. For those of you that feel already in tune, I had a conversation with a sister last week, and what's happening for her is like she's been at a job, she's a head honcho making good money, but she's like, I need to get out. She's like, how do I do this with grace? And I don't want to burn any bridges. And so this is her thing that she's figuring out how to allow that and align that for herself under grace, right? For the highest good of all. But honor herself and that it's time to move on. And what it's bringing up for her is magic. And so some of us have come in already activated with an ability to manifest or to create in a way. But from her experience, what she's experienced is that she has an ability to manipulate energy, to manipulate people on a psychic level in a very subtle, gentle way. And that's been a part of her initiation into the fire, into her light body, is to actually come clean about that to herself, to have a witness by sharing it with me, and to say, you know what? I now see what I haven't seen before, that has actually been a modus operatus for me, because it's just been a part of my nature, how I've come into this life. And now I'm learning that if I want things to be real in a way that they are not forced, but rather come by way of grace, by way of a divine alignment, that I get to stop doing that. And I said, well, what do you mean? And she goes, well, my partners, she's like, every single guy that I've been with up until this most recent person, who she's now engaged to, she said, do you know that I have used magic to get their attention, to draw them in, to make things happen? And I said, whoa, girl, no, I had no idea. She goes, yeah. She goes, but I wasn't really doing it on purpose. It was really unconscious. I was doing it consciously, but it was unconscious in the way that it wasn't me being my light body. It wasn't me being my higher self and acting in accordance with the natural law of, if love is going to be there, if someone's going to love you, they're going to love you. You don't need to light a candle. You don't need to, use whatever psychic manipulative skills that you might have to make something happen. And this is her initiation, where she's like, whoa, I get to drop that. Like, she knows that it's not that everything is fake, because obviously if you burn a candle, they show up. I mean, there's degrees, right? How much are you forcing it? How much are they really interested as well? And there's something there. You've learned a lesson together. You've grown, you've loved, or whatever it's been. Each situation can be so very unique and different. Yet the point is, her realization that that's her initiation, that's part of her initiation, is to drop using magic in that way and to come into clear magic. We think there's dark magic, there's light magic, right? Light magic being where you have an objective of the grid and the matrix, where you think there's a right and a wrong, and you're using magic for the good of the world, for the right of the world. Yet beyond the matrix, we realize that the world is the world and it's perfect as it is, and there's nothing here to actually change. And if there's anything to change, it's within ourselves. And how that then is naturally, fractally reflected back to you in your life's experience is the grace of becoming, of being, and embodying your light. And so she's recognizing where she gets to drop that force of a will. And this is huge for her, because she's consciously been using this her whole life. And she's like, you know what? I even see. And then when she realized and was honest with herself that she's been using that in relationships and love spheres, she's recognized, like, oh, the light is on now. And she's like, oh my God, I've even used that at work. I've used that with coworkers. I've used that, So what is that for you? Where in your life have you been using? In a way, those kinds of powers to get what you want in life. And it's tricky. It's tricky because we're taught that's how you get anywhere in this life. Again, though, there's a grace that comes, and we are given and gifted and bestowed an even greater bounty in ways that are so powerful and so healthy and so nourishing to that light body calibration and activation that could never be met with anything that we have to force. And if you still don't understand that, it's okay. It's coming. Oh, blessings, and thank you for being here. Is manipulating people a good thing? Never mind, you explained it. Okay. In the book, Charles is a part of I do a spiritual apprentice book club with my book, The Reiki Apprentice, which anyone can hop in at any time. You'll get what you need. Some people come in for a couple weeks, they drop out, they pop in, and it's always what is in service for them. And so there's a very interesting part that we're coming into about psychic manipulation. And so let's talk a little bit about that as we close, and then we'll do a little meditation. And actually, I really want to do a whole show on this, and I'll have to dig into the book, Charles, to get some proper little quotes that I would want to share from it. We are all like a crystal. We are receiving and transmitting information. When we are unconscious, we will absorb and receive really anything we're told, and we will continue then to say it. It's like a bubble of light, no judgment. But say if you believe everything that you hear on the news, like every single thing, everything, and you don't research it or you don't find alternative modes of considering a greater picture, but you believe every single thing that you hear on the news, and then that gets in to your receiver, and then you transmit and you repeat everything that you say into the world. All you're doing is you're creating the structure, the synaptic sky. Thank you, Jay-Z Knight. That's her quote. Synaptic sky. And the biochemical response within you to generate that experience in the simulation of the matrix. So you're told what to think, and then you really create that reality by speaking it so. Now, equally, the stories we're told by our parents, the things we're told in school, the history, which is, an abomination, really any of the history, is really any of the stuff that we learn in school, rooted in any kind of a whole, holistic anchor of truth. Debatable. But the point is that we're fed information, and to the degree that we regurgitate and transmit that information, we generate the feedback loop of this simulation of the matrix. And as long as we just stay in the storylines that we're told, and we don't think for ourselves, we don't initiate ourselves into those greater light codes, especially if we're invited, well, then the perpetuation of the matrix, of the tick-tock, of the limitation of us being just a body with these five senses will sustain itself. And it's when we break away from being that victim, when we heal to the degree, when we accept that we're seeing lights and we're seeing rainbow visions out of our perception, or what's it called? That, when you look out the corners. When we say, okay, all right, I see this. And instead of like being afraid of it, but opening to it and saying, you're here, I'm here, this is my experience. What are you here to show me? When we step into the ring of fire, instead of being afraid and getting burned by the edges of it, but when we step into it and we say, everything happens for a reason, and nothing's going to come to you that's not in your resonance, it's not in your field, even if it scares the shit out of you, even if it makes your knees quake or your your voice crack and your because it's an initiation for you to be and embody a truth that is perhaps beyond that which you've believed or which you've been told. And that's the vision. That's the seeing with the source, with the God, with the light body vision. That's you in your Merkaba, mastering your time and space through your conscious word and your conscious thought. And the Merkaba is how we travel from dimensions, from one dimension to the other. And the Merkaba gets activated when you speak and think and generate and foster the feelings of 0 point energy, which is God, source, love, light. In quantum science, the smallest thing they can measure is a Planck length, which is quadrillions of billions and billions and billions of the tiniest thing you can even imagine, and beyond that they have been able to measure. The smallest amount of anything that they can measure in this world. And then after that, you hit the 0 point. After that, you hit what in the spiritual realms we call the 0 point, being God. That you that is light before there is creation. So the Merkaba gets activated every time we choose love, every time we forgive, every time we allow ourselves to rest in peace and to heal. The counter-rotating fields of your chariot of light, of your light body, becomes emblazoned, and your ability then to shift from this third dimensional density of just all these triggers and responses and ways that you've been told to be in this world, boom, shaken off. And your ability then to be present in the now, which is a fourth dimensional consciousness. The heart is always in the now. It's the miracle, the happenstance, the stuff where you're going like, I don't know how that even happened. Because you weren't doing it, baby. You weren't lighting a candle. That's how it happened. Because you were brave enough to take your hands off the wheel and trust a divine force that you can't really peg down or hold down in one place, because it is omniscient. And it is you. And so we travel in this Merkaba. 11:55. Let's do a little meditation. And there's so much more in the Merkaba we can go into. And I've said it for years that I did it once. I've gathered a small little presentation, and I did it at one of my little retreats many years ago. So we'll see how that'll come into fruition. But if you're guided, go to my website, tuesdaymaythomas.com. Link is in my profile, and join my community. I send out a love letter once a month. Thank you for following all of the platforms that I facilitate, and thank you for being here today. Thank you. Thank you for your contributions and for writing in. And was there one more thing? I think someone said something, I'm not sure. Peripheral, thank you. Yes, it's peripheral. Peripheral vision. So let's just take a moment. If you need to split, thank you for being here again, for being a part of this community. Otherwise, let's close the eyes and take a moment. Take a breath. And right away, drop into the heart center. Imagine shrinking yourself down the size of the tip of your thumb and entering the space of the heart. And it is here we find ourselves in a rose quartz crystalline cave, a sacred space where we know all hearts are one. And in this heart of hearts, and the aspect that is your own heart, take a moment to listen to where you are being initiated now to garner greater love, more patience, less prejudice, less hate, whatever it is for you, less judgment, all the polarity bound aspects that keep you bound in the matrix. And remember, it's okay to have an opinion. Yet when it becomes polarized with judgment and really getting angry and being triggered at other people in the world, and when it generates anger and fear and hate and all this stuff, that's when we're in the matrix. And so what's coming up for you now? Drop into your heart. Let's take a few moments, take a breath, and just listen. Listen to your higher self in your heart. It may show you, it may give you a vision or a set of words. What are you ready to heal now? And let that vision or that feeling, that word or those set of words come into your awareness. And see how they connect you like strings through the grid matrix, like threads connecting your body, your mind, your emotions to all those people, those places, those things through all time, space, and dimension. And for the highest good universe, we ask you to run these grids for us and run them to balance, running light through all of these paradigms, through all of these memories, these experiences, and bringing these memories, these experiences to balance for the highest good of all, never forcing any will, never pushing or doing anything that is not in a divine alignment for each individual and the collective whole. So running that energy now. Take another breath in. Deep breath out. Just let it go. Whatever's ready to go. And feel how that affects your nervous system, how it's wired to your digestive system, your circulatory system, your endocrine system, all of the systems within your physical strata that do make up your five senses. Feel a gentle recalibration, an evening, an aligning, and then further rippling out through the way that you are connected energetically through these grids of your personal matrix, rewiring, reset, and then through the synaptic sky of the greater collective consciousness of grid matrix through all time, space, and dimensions. And feel how that shifts, perhaps even big ley lines of energy that have kept you held, almost hostage or a victim in certain ways in your life. And feel now a freeing up of that energy and how you creating those correct conditions through the labyrinth connects you to your heart and to the solar logos, to the sun and beyond it, bringing in and bridging that miracle energy, that now realization in the heart. Now take a breath. Receive what you are ready to receive. and gently. Now grow yourself back from that little thumb-sized version and into the physical body that you are now. Beautiful. Beautiful. Blessings, and thank you everyone for being here. It is always such a gift to share with you. I'm so very grateful for this beautiful community. I look forward to sharing with you next week. Blessings, and thank you. Thank you. Blessings and welcome everyone in Facebook.